Hello, so I got some more of those Indiana Jones Adventure Series figures. They're basically the Black Series toys, but styled to Indiana Jones. I really do like the look of the series, so I was waiting for them to kind of go down in price. They're $45 here in my country, but the store that I usually get them from, for some reason today, they started a brand new sale that was 30% off of all Indiana Jones figures. That included these guys. Unfortunately, the only Tolt figure that was there was sold out. That guy he sold weeks ago actually, I think, so I'm gonna have to really try hard at tracking him down. I live in a small town, so the likelihood of us getting that again. I live in a small town, so it's really hard to find these figures actually in stores. But today, at least, I have Salah Marian and Renee Belloc, which is pretty cool. And I'm seeing the new movie today, so I was pretty excited to kind of go out and get something Indiana Jones themed. Yeah, so now my Indiana Jones figure is actually complete with a couple of his friends, or enemies. It's cool. It's a nice little collection. I think that individually the figures, I think the reason I wasn't super sold on it at the time was because just singly, the figures don't really work for me, but as a ensemble collection, I think that this does look better and more enticing to me as a collector than something like most of the Black Series or Legends waves. Ultimately, they're period piece action figures who aren't usually made. We don't get toys built around figures from the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, you know, we usually get stuff from the now or from sci-fi stuff. So this is really cool. As long as the prices are nice, then I can consider getting these. I want to start with Marian, who was the one that I was the most interested in getting out of all of them, and I think ultimately she pretty much meets my expectations. Face likeness wise, her freckles are somewhat noticeable on the figure, but you really do need to pay attention to details in order to see them, so the freckles aren't as obvious as I would have liked them to be. She has the same basic articulation as the others, which is nice. I think her hair, it feels a bit softer in these sections than it does kind of at the top there, which means that when turning her head, it means that the hair's not going to get caught on her shoulders. It's really cool. Looks really natural. Similar movements in rotations and articulation as Indiana Jones, but her joints feel a little different. Like her hands are on different pegs. Sorry, I don't know the specifics of the pegs, but they're not the same as his. But I'm pretty happy with it overall. I like the coloring contrast of her white shirt and her big red pants. The pants are a lot thicker than I thought they'd be. They are supposed to be baggy pants. Her shoes are a little weird though. It looks like it would be thinner sandals, but her feet are actually kind of molded to be like the size of shoes. So she's a little tricky to kind of get standing upright, but eventually you can make it work. It's not that bad. Articulation wise, I think she's pretty similar to all of the other Indiana Jones type figures. Accessories are a little lacking. She comes with this frying pan, which I don't really like. I just don't like the plastic that's used on items like this. The shovel is the exact same from Salah, but we'll get to that in a sec. It just kind of feels really cheap, and I guess I thought as someone who hadn't bought action figures in a long time that paying nearly $45 for this would mean that everything would be of like a higher quality. I don't really feel that same way about the Ark of the Covenant pieces. For some reason, that kind of being a cheaper material and mass-produced into a bunch of other things is a little different than like a frying pan. I don't really know why I feel differently about like the Ark of the Covenant pieces. I'm okay with those pieces being like a lower plastic, but this one I kind of really wish it was a little bit different. She can hold it really well in this hand. As you can see there, she's ready to go and whack a couple people. But the box shows that this arm would be used for something else, so you kind of want to see if you can have it in this hand, and it only very loosely sits in there, which looks nice. It just means that she won't really be able to swing as much with this one. But if you can get it sitting in there, that's cool, because then you have the little monkey accessory. The monkey is a really surprising inclusion. It's even articulated. I had no idea that figures could go so far with things like this. He's little, he has tail articulation, arm articulation, and even head articulation, and it's all on ball joints. And it can all like come off as well. It's really impressive stuff. Like, I've had a couple of figures over my years where I've had little accessories like animals like this, but this is one of the best I think I've seen. And the box even shows that she can kind of perch the monkey on her arm, but the monkey doesn't have like a peg or anything to connect onto. It just kind of sits there if you can angle it right. Yeah, so we got there eventually. Her build and arc pieces are just two of these walls. I won't be assembling it here because I don't have all the pieces, and I would like to I'd really like to wait until I actually had all of the pieces there, but I'll show off what each of these pieces are. It splits into just like so. Pretty easy. Renee Belloc is the central antagonist of the movie. He was the one that I was kind of the least excited for of the entire wave, but he might be one of the best ones. Despite his lack of articulation because of his robes, I love all of his details. I think he has key details that are more defined than some of the other figures. I love his tablet that he has up the front, and he's got 3 different types of robes going on here with a really nice checkered design that feels different to his skirt part. His skirt is like a double robed piece. The lower part is just glued onto the end there. Looks a little ugly, I guess, if you look at it from that angle, but from the front perspective, I think it looks pretty good. He's got this really cool force hand, which I could see being used for Jedi people later. That thick skirt does mean that it gets in the way of his articulation. It's a little tricky to get him to stand and move his legs around. Face detail wise, I think it's really good. This one impressed me the most. I've seen some 50-50 comments on people saying whether or not the face prints are good. It's pretty hard to tell if you're gonna get a good one given that the box is now windowless, but I think I might have struck out with this one. I was really impressed with Belloc overall. I've already been showing him off with his one accessory. It's his staff piece, which is really cool. It's one full thing. It's not like, sometimes items like this can detach from this part, although it is actually, although you can rotate it around. But I'm never one who wants to potentially break a figure first time opening it. It's got some pretty cool details on there though. There's not a whole lot else that I think could have come with this figure, but I'm always looking for extra accessories, so, you know, he could have come with extras. His Ark of the Covenant pieces are these handles. This is kind of like the main handle part here, and then it has two of these that connect onto the ends here. And so you end up getting something that looks a lot like this, and you get two of them as well to then go into the walls that come with the Marion and the topped figure, I think. And they actually just kind of slot in like that. And actually I would have the other wall on this side. Pretty impressive details. He can even hold on to it, looks like a royal scroll. And so the last figure that I'm looking at here is Salah. He's one that I didn't have a whole lot of expectations going into, but I think he's the weakest of them all. First off, that likeness is terrible. Exactly why I stopped buying toys in the first place. I just do not see Jonathan Rhys-Davies in this at all. I guess from the distance, he still looks like a cool figure, and maybe if you angle him like this, then it looks pretty good. But I like a lot of the robing that's going on there as well though. His shirt is a different piece to the rest of him, so that comes off. I always love when clothing is made like that on action figures. Same articulation as the other figures here. He only comes with these two hands, and neither of which can hold onto either of his accessories, so that's a negative point. Like Belloc, he's got a big skirt piece, so it gets in the way of his articulation, and he, out of all of them, was the hardest one to kind of make stand. It's really tricky. You really have to kind of bend him down and have him as a hunchback in order to make it work. He's got some weathering designs on his robes, which is cool, but I don't really like it in comparison to the Indiana Jones. It feels like I've dropped him on concrete or dirt or something, not necessarily like an intentional design. Some of it looks better than others, but some of it just looks a little off as well. But maybe that's just me. Accessory-wise, he includes a shovel, which looks cool for this part not so much. It's the same plastic material that was used for the frying pan, so I might be an outlier in that, but I don't like this. The box displays him as just loosely holding it, not really using it for digging, just kind of posing with it. That's about the best that you can do. It's just gonna keep sliding around. He can't actually hold on to it and use it for digging. The other hand is pretty much the exact same, just loosely in there. His other accessory is some rope, which looks really nice, and I thought that it might be able to coil up and connect onto him because of that part there. It cannot. He, on the box, is shown holding it with this hand here. As you can see, it's really thick, and his hand is really closed, so you can kind of make it work, but it just falls off. The best way that I've had is to just kind of loop it on, and it looks a little goofy. If you play around with it enough, you might be able to get something. Yeah, I guess. But now it kind of looks like he's doing underarm. Not terrible, but also not as good as the other figures at least. His Ark of the Covenant pieces though are very useful. He has both the lid and the bottom floor of the Ark of the Covenant. It came in the box exactly like this, and it took me a little while to realize that you're supposed to pop these out. This is the little floor, and this is the lid. Indiana Jones came with the pieces that come in here. Arnold and Marion came with the wall pieces that would connect the two together, like so. But as I mentioned, I don't want to build it all just yet. I really want to wait until I've actually finished it. Ultimately, Hasbro have me pretty fully on board with this line. There is a second wave of figures that I think has just started to now hit the store shelves. My country says that we're not getting them until August or September, so I've got enough time to kind of save up and keep my eye out for the ones that I'm interested in. My goal, as well as trying to finish a Spider-Man and an Avengers collection this year, is to now also get the Indiana Jones figures so I can build the Ark of the Covenant. But honestly, looking at that second wave, I think that the Build a Treasure is much better for that wave too. So I'm also intrigued on getting that one. If you enjoyed this, liking and subscribing would be really appreciative. Be sure to come back next time for some more action figure type reviews. See you later.